future. But there have been some controversies lately that we want to ask you about. And I guess I'd start with Flash and your sort of war with Adobe. So you published a long, open letter, something like, what did you call it, Thoughts on Flash or something like that? So you've clearly stated your case there. But even if, here's my question, even if everything you say in there is true about its inferiority as a technology and other things being available to replace it and already replacing it, is it really fair or the best thing for consumers who buy, say, an iPad or an iPhone to just be abrupt? In other words, if we're in a transition where there are better things in Flash, why be abrupt and cut off consumers?
Sure. Well, two things. Number one, I'll come back in a minute to what really happened there, because what you said isn't exactly chronologically correct. But Apple is a company that doesn't have the most resources of everybody in the world. And the way we've succeeded is by choosing what horses to ride really carefully, technically. We try to look for these technical vectors that have a future and that are headed up. And technology, different pieces of technology kind of go in cycles. They have their springs and summers and autumns, and then they go to the graveyard of technology. And so we try to pick things that are in their springs. And if you choose wisely, you can save yourself an enormous amount of work versus trying to do everything. And you can really put energy into making those new emerging technologies be great on your platform, rather than just okay because you're spreading yourself too thin. So we have a history of doing that. As an example, we went from the 5-inch floppy disk to the 3.5-inch floppy disk with the Mac.
Before other people, right? We
were the first to do that. We made the 3.5-inch floppy disk popular. Sony invented it, and we put it in the first products. And there were some good reasons we did that. We got rid of the floppy disk altogether in 1998 with the first iMac. We also got rid of these things called serial and parallel ports, and we were the first to adopt USB, even though Intel had invented it. You first saw it in mass on iMacs. And so we have gotten rid of things. We were one of the first to get rid of optical drives with the MacBook Air. And I think things are moving in that direction as well. And sometimes when we get rid of things like the floppy disk drive on the original iMac, people call us crazy.
Or at least premature, maybe.
No, they call us crazy.
Oh, okay.
But sometimes you just have to pick the things that look like they're going to be the right horses to ride going forward. And Flash looks like a technology that had its day, but is waning. And HTML5 looks like the technology that's really on the ascendancy right now. And to incorporate Flash into systems is a lot of work. There's no smartphone shipping with Flash on it now, as you know.
But you know that there will be, right?
Well, there's going to have been for the last 2 or 3 years, and every 6 months it gets updated. So I'm sure that eventually they will. And there's a lot of issues with that in terms of battery life and, security and other things. But more importantly, HTML5 is starting to emerge. There's been an avalanche of people that have said, we're doing HTML5 video. And the video looks better, and it works better, and you don't need a plug-in to run it. And so while 75% of the video in the web may be in Flash, 25% going to 50% very shortly is also available in HTML.
So do you say that to consumers? I mean, talking besides technology, it's consumers.
I think consumers outside of the Valley and our industry aren't having this issue.
Except when they hold up their iPad and they go to a web page and there's like a hole there where a video would be. They may not know what Flash is.
There are holes in some websites, but those holes are getting plugged real fast. The holes that exist now are ads. So I understand that's a
entirely.
problem for some people.
Not entirely.
Not entirely, but that's the number one holes that are there.
And what about the other community that I think is impacted by this, and that's developers? Because what I think a lot of the coverage of this Flash issue has overlooked is that, yes, Flash is a video container, and there are other video containers that actually have a very rising share, H.264 and native HTML5, but it's also a development environment, and there are entire websites, some of them quite beautiful, written on a Flash platform.
An even more popular development environment was HyperCard, and we were okay to axe that.
It wasn't more popular than Flash, was it?
Oh, in its day, sure it was.
On your platform, right?
No. HyperCard was huge in its day because it was accessible to anybody.
Right.
So, I mean, you could be a HyperCard developer.
Yeah, I don't know.
So,
I don't know about
but, you know, we have over 200,000 apps on the App Store. So something must be going right in terms of attracting developers to our platform.
So your goal, just to finish this up, your ultimate goal is to get rid of Flash or just to move? How
No, see, our goal is really easy. We didn't start off to have a war with Flash or anything else. We just made a technical decision that we weren't going to put the energy into getting Flash on our platform. We told Adobe, if you ever have this thing running fast, come back and show us, which they never did. And, but we think we're not going to use it. And that was it. And we shipped the iPhone, and it doesn't use Flash. And it wasn't until we shipped the iPad, and it didn't use Flash, that Adobe started to raise a stink about it. We didn't raise a stink about it. We never mentioned the word Adobe or Flash or anything else. We like Adobe. We have a lot of common customers with CS, you know, their Creative Suite software and things like that. So we weren't trying to have a fight. We just decided not to use one of their products in our platform. And so, you know, they started to say a lot of bad things about us in the press and this and that, and it went on for months. And that's why I wrote Thoughts on Flash, was because we were trying to be real professional about this and weren't talking to the press about it. We didn't think it was a matter for the press. And we finally just said, enough is enough. We're tired of these guys trashing us in the press over this. And so we wrote down the reasons why, technically, we didn't choose Flash. And they are just as true today as they were when we wrote it, as they were 6 months or a year before that.
And what would happen, just so this, I promise, we're going to move on to the next thing you don't want to talk about, but on this Flash thing, what would happen? I mean, you know, it's an open market. You do have competitors, particularly in the smartphone side, and you may have significant competitors in the tablet side. We have a couple of companies showing non-iPad tablets here this week.
This is America.
This is America, that's right. Well, it's LA, but it's part of America, yeah. What if the market says, hey, you know, it's important enough to us to be able to run not just these videos, but whole websites. You know, there's a great photo editing site, I don't know if you've ever used it, called Picnic. It's a lovely site. It really works like a smooth, slick, native client on your computer, but it's written in, it's a Flash site on the web. I mean, it probably uses other technologies too, but it doesn't work on the iPad. What if people say, you know, the iPad is crippled in this respect?
Well, you know, well, I'd say two things. Number one, things are packages of emphasis. Some things are emphasized in a product, some things are not done as well in a product, some things are chosen not to be done at all in a product. And so different people make different choices. And if the market tells us we're making the wrong choices, we listen to the market. We're just people running this company. We're trying to make great products for people. And so we have at least the courage of our convictions to say, we don't think this is part of what makes a great product. We're going to leave it out. Some people are going to not like that. They're going to call us names. It's not going to be in certain companies' vested interests that we do that, but we're going to take the heat because we want to make the best product in the world for customers. And we're going to instead focus our energy on these technologies, which we think are in their ascendancy and we think are going to be the right technologies for customers. And you know what? They're paying us to make those choices. That's what a lot of customers pay us to do, is to try to make the best products we can. And if we succeed, they'll buy them. And if we don't, they won't. And it'll all work itself out.